Hello friends, how are you? Hope you are all fine and in good health under these circumstances. So I'm here with another unit of heterocyclic chemistry, and today I'll be talking about very important heterocycles, five-membered aromatic heterocycles in major, that is, as you can see, furan, pyrrole, thiophene. Those three heterocycles, these are very important heterocycles as these are found in numerous numbers of bioactive molecules, pharmaceutical molecules, and natural products as well. Today I will talk about their structure, property, their synthesis, reaction, and their applications in the synthesis of drug molecules. To start with the structure, as you can see in the screen, the general structure of five-membered aromatic heterocycle, where in the ring structure only one atom is heteroatom. That can be in furan it is oxygen, in pyrrole this is nitrogen, in thiophene this is sulfur. All the heteroatom having unshared pair of electrons on the heteroatom. And you can see in the adjacent there is the cyclopentadienyl anion, the isoelectronic structure without the heteroatom. And in the right side you see the general structures of furan, pyrrole and thiophene, and the assignment of adjacent atoms of the heteroatoms into the ring structure. These heterocyclic compounds are having 6 pi electrons. They are planar in structure and they are aromatic in nature. With the resonance structures, if you can see that the unshared pair of electron on the heteroatom of these three heterocyclic system is capable of participating into resonating structures, and the negative charge is dispersed into the whole ring structures over the carbon atoms, where the heteroatom gets a del plus charge. Now the electron donation into the ring by resonance is taking place, but the inductive electron withdrawal effect is also operating in the systems. Here comes the dipole moments of the ring structures. If you can see, there is a comparison between the aromatic heterocycles and the fully saturated heterocyclic homologues. And you see in case of furan, the dipole moment is directed towards the oxygen atom and on that direction from the ring structure to oxygen atom, and having a value of 0.71 dBi. In case of thiophene, this is in the similar way of furan and the value is little bit less of 0.52 dBi. However, in case of pyrrole, the direction of the dipole moment of the whole molecule is away from nitrogen and it is towards the ring structures or the ring carbon atoms, and the value is 1.55 dBi. Now here the oxygen and sulfur are more electronegative than the nitrogen atom, and so the inductive effects dominate in those cases. First, I will talk about the synthesis of furan, and the best known process for the synthesis of furan is Pyrrole synthesis. If you can look at the schematic diagram, you see that 1,4-dicarbonyl systems under acidic catalyst upon heating can produce furan derivatives. Now the process initiated by means of protonation to one of the carbonyl oxygen atom, followed by a ring closure and the unshared pair of electron on the other carbonyl oxygen, which is by that time get a tautomerization and form the enol structure. Thereby, in the next step, it can form a furan structure, 5-membered ring structure having oxygen atom into the skeleton, and usually that can follows and aromatization can lead to furan as the major product. And in this reaction, basically this is a reversible reaction, and this can be used to convert the furans into the 1,4-diketones as well. So in either way you can set up the reaction. And the important part is a trace of acid is always required for this reaction to proceed in the forward direction, and usually tosic acid is used as the catalyst. Another important reaction is fixed binary synthesis of furans. Here ethyl acetoacetate with alpha halo ketone can react between each other in presence of aqueous sodium hydroxide at room temperature to produce the furan derivative. Now the reaction initiated by means of abstraction of acidic protons of ethyl acetoacetate by the base, hydroxide base, followed by a nucleophilic attack on the alpha halo ketone by the carbon ion. And then this, upon cyclization involving the carbonyl oxygen of ethyl acetoacetate part and departure of the chloride ion, which is not so much very good leaving group, however I would like to say, but anyway this is the only leaving group here which is compared to the others, which is having more tendency to depart. So the cyclization takes place, followed by dehydration. Eventually that will lead to furan derivative. The product prior to the dehydration can be isolated and under certain circumstances, and people have done that, and they have also been able to tune the reaction condition by changing that reaction condition, the product of the reaction. So another route of synthesis of furan involves a bit modified fixed binary synthesis, where if you can see that the reaction procedure has been modified by the introduction of sodium iodide and an ethoxide base as the reagents. Now here you can see in the first step the alpha halo ketone, the halogen group which was supposed to be alpha chloroketone in fact, so the chloro group used to be replaced by the iodide ion, and because the iodide ion will be a better leaving group, and also the electron deficiency of the carbon center will increase in that case, and the reaction will follow the pathway. And in that case I should say that in Pyrrole synthesis it followed from the 1,4 diketone, and afterwards it's the same reaction when we have the replacement of the chloride by the iodide. Further the carbon ion reacts at the carbon iodine bond and the iodine atom departs as the iodide ion. Then it becomes the 1,4 carbonyl, and then the following sequences are according to the Pyrrole sequence. And the regiochemical outcome of the reaction is completely altered by addition of iodide. Now we will talk about the synthesis of thiophenes. The 4+1 strategy of Pyrrole strategy of synthesizing thiophene using 1,4 dicarbonyl and phosphorus pentasulfide will form these two compounds, which eventually lead to the thiophene derivatives. Now this reaction can be occur also via the 1,4-bis thioketone intermediate. Another process of synthesizing thiophene is the Gewalt reaction, which is a synthesis of two amino thiophenes via a multi-component condensation reaction between sulfur and alpha methylene compound, carbonyl compound of course, and an alpha cyanoester. And the reaction proceeds like this way. You have the alpha methylene carbonyl compound and the alpha cyanoester, and with the sulfur atom we will have the two amino thiophene derivatives. Now comes the synthesis of pyrroles. The Pyrrole synthesis of 4+1 strategy is also useful for the synthesis of pyrrole, and this is the best known one and the oldest one maybe. And in here only the difference is here we use ammonia and in benzene as the nitrogen source for the pyrroles, and the 1,4 dicarbonyl will react with ammonia to form the imine first, which eventually tautomerizes to the enamine, making the free amine which is more nucleophilic in nature, and therefore the cyclization will take place, and eventually followed by dehydration and aromatization will lead to the substituted pyrrole derivatives. Now in case of ammonia, we can also use primary amines, and in that case we will end up with N-alkyl pyrrole as the major product. Recent routes for synthesizing pyrroles involves base-mediated intramolecular cyclization of N-propergyl amines, which provides structurally diverse pyrroles in presence of potassium hydroxide and DMSO, and eventually that will first create a carbon ion, and followed by intramolecular cyclization reaction will lead to the polysubstituted pyrrole derivative. Another process of synthesizing pyrroles involves the nor-pyrrole synthesis, which is a 3+2 strategy with the 2-oxo diethyl succinate compound and alpha aminocarbonyl compound will react in presence of hydroxide base to produce the pyrrole derivatives. Now here the use of a free amino ketone is found as problematic because the dimerization gives the dihydropyrazine as a major product in some cases, which follows the reaction like that way. So the dihydropyrazine can be a major side product in many cases. Now what is the option to overcome the problem? Now either we have to protect the amine, and we have to activate the methylene group of the succinate compound that we use. Therefore the reaction is faster than the dimerization process. So eventually those are the two processes, and as you can see, the problem can be overcome by storing the aminocarbonyl compound in a protected form, and also we can have the reactive methylene partner which eventually forms the pyrrole derivative first in a faster rate compared to the dimerization reaction. Okay, so these are the possible options. So there are another examples of this modified version, that means the protection of amine. So this is another the amino ketone protection, another form in form of oxime with ethyl acetoacetate, and in situ oxime reduction will eventually lead to the amino ketone, and then with reaction with ethyl acetoacetate in presence of zinc acetic acid or sodium dithionite will lead to the formation of pyrrole derivatives. Now another process will involve the preparation of alpha ketooximes from the beta dicarbonyl compounds or beta ketoester, you can say, in presence of sodium nitrite and acid. Eventually the enol form of the beta dicarbonyl compounds will react with the HNO2, which is generated by means of reaction of NaNO2 and H+, and the nitrization reaction followed by the oxime formation will lead to the final oxime, which is the protected form of the alpha amino ketone. So this alpha amino ketone protected form in the form of oxime can in one pot can get reduced and it can form the pyrrole derivative. Okay, so this can form in presence of the diethyl 3-oxopentanoate compound in presence of zinc and acetic acid will form a polysubstituted pyrrole compound. And further, because of the polysubstitution and the ester moiety here can lead eventually to other functional groups, and which can be used in the synthesis of bioactive molecules in future as well. Another process of synthesizing pyrrole is known as the Hans synthesis, and which is basically a modified version of Fist-Benary synthesis, and as they involve the similar kind of substrates of ethyl acetoacetate, alpha chloroketone, and ammonia in aqueous ammonia, and it needs a room temperature to 60-degree temperature to facilitate the reaction. And the reaction process the similar way as you can see on the screen. The enamine, which is formed by the reaction of ethyl acetoacetate and ammonia, and this enamine can eventually go for the nucleophilic addition reaction where the chloride ion will be acting as a good leaving group, and then the formation of free amine and further cyclization of the the nucleophilic attack of the free amine to the carbonyl carbon, and eventually dehydration process will lead to the formation of pyrrole derivatives. Now coming to the electrophilic substitution reactions of these heterocycles, furan, pyrroles, and thiophenes. I have said in the beginning that the alpha positions and the beta positions are there. So the concern is which position should be more favorable for electrophilic substitution and how the regioselectivity will be assigned. Now here you can see the electrophilic addition at both alpha and beta positions, and the resonating structures are shown over here. You can see over here, and also the final structure, where you can see in the extreme right hand side when electrophile has incorporated or introduced at the alpha position, and also beta position the electrophile can be introduced. Now here a few points are to realize from here, that these electrophilic substitution reactions are more rapid or more preferable for pyrrole than furan, than thiophene, than the benzene homologs. And thiophene is the most aromatic in character and will undergo the slowest reaction for these electrophilic substitution reactions, and pyrrole and furan will react under very mild conditions because they are prone to these electrophilic substitution reactions. Now regarding the position where the electrophilic substitution will be preferable, alpha or beta. So the alpha substitution will be favored over the beta substitution, as you can see from the resonating structures that it has more resonance forms for the intermediates, and the charge is more localized into that part, and for the beta substitution this is quite less localized, if you can say so. And but apart from that, some beta substitution can also be observed, and that depends on the heteroatom and also the substituents, that means the electrophile, the nature of the electrophile also on that. Now we will be talking about the electrophilic substitution reactions of furans. You can see the acetyl nitrate at a very low temperature can produce the nitronium ion, which can act as an electrophile, and furan can undergo the nitration reaction, and eventually will lead to the orthonitro substituted compound, the alpha nitro substituted compound, and pyridine can be used for facilitating the aromatization process. And as you can see that pyridine and heat has been used to facilitate the process, and it ends up with a alpha nitro furan compound. So this nitration can occur by an addition elimination process, as you can see from here, and when we use the nitronium tetrafluoroborate is used as the nitrating agent, the reaction follows the usual mechanism. Next comes the bromination of furans. So this is a bit sensitive in terms of the monobromination or polybromination for that one. Now at 0 degrees centigrade temperature, if the molecular bromine reacts with furan in presence of dioxin solvent, eventually that will end up with the 2-bromo-furan derivative with 80% of yield. And it reacts vigorously with bromine and chlorine at room temperature, and it will, as I said, it can give the polyhalogenated products. So it is possible to obtain the 2-bromo or 2-halo furan derivatives if we control the temperature and manipulate the temperature, and keep it at as low as possible, and then we can have the alpha halo substituted furan derivative. Next, we will talk about some more electrophilic substitution reaction of furans. First, it comes the Friedel-Crafts acylation of furan, where we can see that furan can react with acetic anhydride in presence of phosphoric acid catalyst, and also stannic chloride as the Lewis acid, and it will eventually yield the 2-acetyl thiophene. And as you can see here, with the ratio of the formation of the alpha acetylation and the beta acetylation, that alpha acetylation dominates heavily. The ratio is 6,800:1. So the alpha isomer or the alpha product will dominate over the beta one. Now in the right hand side, in the another reaction, you can see in presence of 2 and 5 dimethyl substituted furan, when reacts with acetic anhydride in presence of stannic chloride at a higher temperature of 150 degrees centigrade, it can form in a 77% yield of 3-acetyl furan derivative. Now the blocking groups at alpha positions and the high temperature does the trick to get the beta substituted or beta acylated furan derivative by means of Friedel-Crafts acylation reactions. Next comes the Willsmeier formulation of furan derivatives. When the 3-methyl furan reacts with NN-dimethyl formamide and in presence of phosphorus oxychloride, and that will yield to 76% of 2-formyl furan derivative. Now the working intermediate in the beginning should be like this one. I will come into detail when I will talk about the electrophilic substitution or the Willsmeier formulation of pyrrole. I will come into detail mechanism for that. Another electrophilic substitution of furan involves or is the Mannich reaction, where the furan undergoes the reaction with formaldehyde and in presence of dimethylamine, and eventually that ends up with the Mannich product in 66% yield. Now we will talk about Thiophene electrophilic substitution reactions. Nitration of thiophenes. Now thiophene can be nitrated by means of acetyl nitrate, and we can have the 2-nitrothiophene and 3-nitrothiophene as the product. Now halogenation of thiophenes is a very critical reaction, and that is very significant for several synthetic approaches in order to have the 2-bromothiophenes and 2,5-dibromothiophenes. Now as you can see in the reaction scheme, that 2-bromothiophenes can be obtained in presence of molecular bromine and diethyl ether as solvent and 48% of hydrogen bromide. And if we keep the temperature low even at minus 30 degrees centigrade, and then we will have and gradually increase that up to -5, then we can have the monobromo, or rather say the specifically 2-bromothiophenes as the major product. Now if we can, or if we increase the temperature from -10 to 10 degrees centigrade and keep the same reaction conditions of molecular bromine and diethyl ether and 48% of hydrogen bromide, then thiophene will yield up with 2,5-dibromothiophenes as the major product. Now it is important to keep the temperature low to get the monohalothiophene derivative, and also the careful control of the temperature can help us to get different halogenated thiophenes as products. So for the other reactions of pyrroles, the electrophilic substitution of pyrroles, it involves for example, the nitration of pyrroles when the similar kind of reactions as we have seen in furan and thiophene. Now when it reacts with pyrrole, the acetyl nitrate at -10 degrees centigrade in presence of acetic acid, it will produce the 2-nitropyrrole in 51% yield and the 3-nitropyrrole in 13% yield. And in that case of pyrrole specifically, mild conditions are very, very important. Otherwise, in presence of concentrated nitric acid and sulfuric acid, if that's been used for the nitration reaction, that products will decompose. Now the Willsmeier formulation for pyrroles, as I said that for the Willsmeier reaction, the iminium ion, which is the active species for the first step of electrophilic addition or with the heterocycles, is formed from the NN-dimethyl formamide and phosphorus oxychloride, eventually form the iminium ion as I have said before, and then it reacts with pyrrole in an electrophilic substitution at the alpha position to produce the 2,4-methyl pyrrole in 83% yield. Now comes the deprotonation reactions of furans, pyrroles and thiophenes. First one involves the metallation reaction. In presence of strong base like N-butyl lithium, the hydrogen atom at the 2 position of these heterocycles, furan, thiophene and pyrrole, the proton gets abstracted by the butyl anion, and thereby we get a lithiated salt at the 2 position, and in that case the reactivity of the alpha proton will be much higher compared to the beta one. And you can see in the table that it's for the furan, N-alkylated pyrrole and thiophene. The pK values in THF are given over here. Now, with the deprotonation of pyrroles, for pyrroles specifically, the hydrogen atom which is attached with nitrogen atom that can also be protonated, and the hydrogen atom which is adjacent to the nitrogen atom at the alpha position, that one can also be deprotonated. So those are the two possible options there. So the free pyrroles can undergo the N and C both deprotection reactions. Now large cations and polar solvents will favor the N substitution. That means the deprotonation at the nitrogen center, and to obtain a C substituted compound, a temporary blocking group on the nitrogen atom is need to be put on so that it doesn't react, and the only reactive or the available proton for deprotonation becomes which is at the alpha position. So now we will talk about the directed metallations for furan, pyrrole and thiophenes. The control of regioselectivity in the deprotonation can be shown here as it is in the displayed, that the Y, which is a nucleophile, can come and then it can bind or react with the lithium, the metallic part, the coordinate bond with the lithium, and eventually the butyl anion, the butyl part can abstract the alpha hydrogen or deprotonate the alpha proton of the heteroatom. So this is a directed metallation reaction where the metal can the lithium can bind and help the deprotonation at the alpha position. Okay, so the common directing groups which can be used in that cases can be the CH2OMe, CONR2 or CHOR2. Those groups are usually used in the purpose. Another one is the synthesis of alpha prime disubstituted systems. In the similar way, you can have the electrophilic substitution at the 2 position, and followed by the similar kind of procedure will lead eventually to the 2,5 di substitution, the electrophilic substitution for these heterocycle derivatives, which is followed by the directed metallation process. Another one is the use of trialkyl silyl blocking group at the 2 positions or of the heteroatom. So if the 2 position is blocked by the trialkyl silyl group, then eventually the electrophilic substitution has to be occur at the 5 position without any option, and after the electrophilic addition at the 5 position, the silyl group can eventually be deprotected by means of fluoride anion because of the strong SiF bond, and eventually we can have the electrophilic substitution reaction at the desired position by means of using the trialkyl silyl group as a blocking agent. Here are summarized several reactions of furans at a glance. You can see over here all different reactions have been summarized in a single slide so that it gets easier, or you get more information from this slide. Different reactions, it can be the Diels-Alder reaction, it can be the arylation at the 2 position, it can be the hydroxylation, acetylation, different kind of reactions, formylation and bromination, as I said, and so different kind of reactions, cycloaddition reactions. So all these are shown here in a single slide. So this might be useful for you if you want to see the reactions of furans. And also similar way, the reactions of pyrroles are summarized over here. As you can see, some of them has already been discussed previously in my lecture today, and there are some other reactions. For example, the tetraiodo pyrrole derivative, how we can access that one, and apart from that, the nitration and the Banach reaction and the formylation, those other reactions are also there. This is the summarization of Thiophenes reactions at a glance. As you can see, a lot of reactions have been displayed over here. You can take your time when you see the video, you can pause that, you can have a look at that. So that might help you in several exams or answering questions, multiple choice questions regarding the thiophene and its product. Now we will talk about the porphyrin-based natural products. Now here, as you can see, I have shown here the porphobilinogen at the center because this will be used as the building block, which contains pyrrole as the basic skeleton, and from there we can have chlorophyll A and heme as the final natural products. Now the pigment heme is found in the oxygen carrier hemoglobin, and chlorophyll A is the responsible component for the photosynthesis in plants. Now both these are synthesized in cells from porphobilinogen. That means that porphyrin rings and those molecules can be easily synthesized by means of pyrrole-based substrates. So viewers, if you like my video and if you want to see much videos like this, please subscribe my channel and press the bell icon for notification to see more videos whenever I upload. Next, I will be talking about the bioactive furan, pyrrole and thiophenes. Here, ranitidine, atorvastatin and suprofen, those three are the drug molecules containing furan, pyrrole and thiophene respectively. The first one is the ranitidine. Ranitidine is one of the biggest selling drugs in the history, and it is an H2 receptor antagonist and lowers the stomach acid levels and usually used to treat the stomach ulcers. And we are quite familiar with the ranitidine as the Rantac or Zintac in that form. Next one is the atorvastatin, which is an inhibitor of HMG-CoA reductase and also acts as anti-hyperlipidemic. So this is also used also for the lowering of blood pressure with the patients having hypertension. Thiophene-based drug molecule suprofen is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, which is also be shown here the synthesis of that one as well. First comes the furan-based drug ranitidine. Now the preparation of ranitidine usually involves the manic reaction as the major reaction protocol that is used for the synthesis of ranitidine. Firstly, the starting component is furfural or 2-formyl furan derivative, which upon reaction with sodium borohydride get reduced to form the furfuryl alcohol, and this on reaction with dimethylamine and formaldehyde will produce the amino alcohol, the manic product. Then it reacts with the aminothiol compound in presence of concentrated HCl to produce the thioamine derivative, and followed by nucleophilic addition reaction to give the ranitidine, which is a very common drug molecule, as the major product. Now the furfural is produced very cheaply from waste vegetable matter and can be reduced to give the commercially available compound furfuryl alcohol, as I have said just. And the second chain is introduced using the manic reaction, which allows the selective substitution at the 5 position. The final step involves the conjugate addition of the amine to the alpha beta unsaturated nitro compound, the nucleophilic addition, and followed by elimination of methane thiol, and we can have the ranitidine as the major product. Next comes the synthesis of a pyrrole-based drug, and we will be talking about synthesis of atorvastatin. Before I go to synthesis, the atorvastatin was first commercialized by Lipitor as Lipitor by the company Pfizer in 1996, and Lipitor broke the records by becoming the world's best-selling pharmaceutical of all time. And basically it is an inhibitor of HMG-CoA reductase and acts as anti-hyperlipidemic drug molecule, and most prescribed due to its low incidence of serious side effects. So these are very significant drug molecule this is, and used rigorously. Now this is the total synthetic route for synthesizing atorvastatin drug molecule. It starts with an beta keto ester compound, which upon reaction with aniline give the corresponding amide, and further reaction with of this amide with the benzaldehyde will end up with the amide derivative with an active vinylene ring, and then on reaction with parafluorobenzaldehyde will lead up with the fluoro derivative, and eventually it reacts with another primary amine which is which is a part of the protected diol system in presence of pirulic acid, that will give that will form eventually from this 1,4-dicarbonyl, and this free amine will form the pyrrole basic ring structure at the core of the molecule, and then followed by the acidic reprotection of the diol derivative will give the free diol, the cis diol derivative, and which is present in atorvastatin, and we will get atorvastatin as the target molecule. Next comes Thiophene-based drug molecule suprofen synthesis. Now, suprofen is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, as I said, and it will be prepared by one-pot Suzuki carbonylation hydroxycarbonylation sequence. Now, the reaction sequence is given here like this way, where 2-bromothiophene will react with 4-vinyl phenyl boronic acid in presence of palladium catalyst and external carbon monoxide source to produce the vinyl thiophenyl ketone as the first product, using the Timeda as the base. Secondly, so this is in alkaline medium, this synthetic part takes place. Now then the vinyl thiophenyl ketone, as you can see, in presence of palladium acetate and external source of carbon monoxide, and here this reaction will proceed under acidic condition. As you see, HCl has been used over here. In the rest of the reaction conditions are quite similar, and will end up with 2-diaryl carbonyl propionic acid derivative, which is eventually known as suprofen molecule. So thank you viewers for watching my channel TG Chemistry, and keep watching, and do subscribe the channel if you like, and if you want to see more videos, subscribe my channel, and I will be bringing more videos like this on the heterocyclic chemistry and on other topics as well. Thank you.